Hello students, this is our third lecture on chemical reactions and equations. In today's class, we'll talk about the different chemical reactions which are emphasized in your class 10 textbook. The different type of reactions are combination reaction or synthesis reaction, decomposition reaction, substitution or displacement reactions, metathesis or double displacement reaction, redox reaction or oxidation and reduction. So out of this 5 reactions, the first 4 types we'll try to finish today. We'll try to discuss today. Redox reactions along with corrosion and rancidity we'll discuss in our next class. So the first reaction that we'll talk about is combination reaction. The name says the meaning. Combination is to combine. So this is a reaction where 2 or more reactants combine to produce one product. Like you have a compound called A and another compound called B. This can be atoms, this can be molecules. So they combine and form a third compound, that is AB. So since a new compound is formed, this is a chemical reaction. And in this reaction, 2 reactants combine to give one product. So this is an example of combination reaction. The first type of combination reaction that we'll discuss is the reaction between calcium oxide, that is quicklime, and water to produce calcium hydroxide, that is slaked lime. So this reaction is specially emphasized in your textbook because this reaction gives a product calcium hydroxide, which is used to paint the walls earlier. So when people do not have synthetic paints, which is used nowadays, they used to paint the wall with this calcium hydroxide, which gives a shiny white appearance in the wall. But to get the shiny appearance, it takes around 2-3 days because this calcium hydroxide, after painting in the wall, it reacts with the carbon dioxide of the atmosphere and produces calcium carbonate. So this is a slow reaction, occurs in 2-3 days. As a result, the white shiny appearance in the wall comes only after 2-3 days. So this question was asked in the board exams earlier, like name a substance whose aqueous solution is used for whitewashing and the shininess appears after 2-3 days only. So the compound was calcium oxide, that is quicklime. The solution is calcium hydroxide, that is slaked lime. The shininess appears because of the formation of calcium carbonate, which takes around 2-3 days time. So another example of combination is the burning of carbon in air. So when carbon is burnt in air, it produces carbon dioxide. And this burning reaction, this combination reaction, produces lots of heat. As a result, this carbon and the fuels containing carbon are used as, and the compounds of carbon are used as fuels. Another example is hydrogen plus oxygen gives water. So this is also an example of combination because 2 compounds, that 2 molecules, that is hydrogen and oxygen, are combining to produce another compound, that is water. So this is another example of combination, sulfur burnt in oxygen to give sulfur dioxide. The sulfur dioxide is oxidized to give sulfur dioxide. Here a catalyst, vanadium pentoxide is required. V2O5 is vanadium pentoxide. And we'll learn in higher class that this is a very important reaction for the preparation of sulfuric acid in a process which is called contact process. So we'll learn in higher class. Then iron reacts with oxygen to give iron oxide. So these are some example of combination reaction. You'll get some other examples in the book, but combination reactions are reactions where reactants more than one, they combine, but only one product is formed. Then the second type is decomposition. The name again says decomposition. Decomposition means to decompose, to break. So this is a reaction where a single reactant splits into more than one product. So the compound AB is broken down to form A and B. So since you are breaking the compound AB, this needs some energy. So all this decomposition reaction needs some energy to break the compound. And that energy can be supplied in the form of heat, in the form of electricity, and in the form of light. So depending on the mode in which the energy is supplied, these decomposition reactions can be classified as thermal decomposition, where energy is supplied in the form of heat, electrolytic decomposition or electrolysis, where electricity is used as a form of energy, and photolytic decomposition or photolysis, where light energy is used to break the compound. So now we'll discuss this three types of decomposition one by one with examples. So first we'll talk about thermal decomposition. As I already said, it is a type of decomposition where energy is supplied in the form of heat. So where energy is supplied in the form of heat, that's called thermal decomposition. Now this is one example of thermal decomposition where hydrated ferrous sulfate is heated. Now what is this hydrated ferrous sulfate? This is ferrous sulfate crystals which contain 7 water of crystallization along with this. So this 7 water is called water of crystallization. So we'll discuss about this water crystallization later on in the chapter called acid, bases, and salt. So when the compound is initially heated, it loses the water molecule, and when the water molecule is evaporated, this ferrous sulfate crystals will become anhydrous white powder. So this is ferrous sulfate, anhydrous ferrous sulfate, where there is no water molecule is present. So this crystalline compound gets converted to an anhydrous compound, dry powder. And this powder, when heated, will give you ferric oxide, which is reddish brown in color, along with the release of gas sulfur dioxide and sulfur dioxide. And this gases has a smell of burning sulfur. The smell that we get after burning a matchstick, similar smell we'll get when this gas sulfur dioxide and sulfur dioxide is released here. Another example is decomposition of lead nitrate. So this lead nitrate is a white color compound, white color salt rather, and this salt, when heated strongly, it gives a yellow color lead oxide, which is a solid. Along with that, brown color nitrogen dioxide gas is released. Now in exams, question may be given like this: a green color compound, which on heating becomes white and strong heating becomes brown. Identify the compound and write the reaction involved. So you have to write the heating of ferrous sulfate. Then another question which is asked in the exam is: white compound on heating becomes yellow and releases a brown color gas. So what is a compound, and write the reaction. So you have to write about lead nitrate decomposition. Now this color of the compounds it's very important to remember for you all. But when you go to a higher class, you'll get to know why some compounds are colored and why some compounds are not colored. This is all related to absorption of light by the compound. So when light falls on the compound absorbs the light, and if that light falls in a visible region, then it shows the color. And this all we'll study in higher class. Then another example is thermal decomposition of calcium carbonate. When calcium carbonate is heated, it gives calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. Zinc carbonate, when heated, gives you zinc oxide and carbon dioxide. Potassium chlorate, when heated, in presence of manganese dioxide, that acts as a catalyst to give you KCl and oxygen. So these are also example of decomposition, because one reactant splits into more than one product, and this is happening for all the 3 cases. So these reactions are example of decomposition reactions where energy is supplied in the form of heat. So next we'll talk about decomposition where energy is supplied in the form of light. It's called photolytic decomposition. Like decomposition of silver chloride and silver bromide. The silver chloride is a white color solid salt, and silver bromide is a pale yellow color compound. But both the compounds, when heated, will give you gray color silver metal. Sorry, not heated. When light falls on the compound, so they give gray color silver metal and chlorine gas in the first case, bromine gas in the second case. So this is an example of photolytic decomposition or photolysis. Then these 2 reactions, decomposition of silver chloride and silver bromide, these were used in black and white photography. So this question is also asking the exam: name a photochemical decomposition reaction which is used in black and white photography. So this was asked in the board exam earlier. Then the third type of decomposition that we'll discuss is electrolytic decomposition or electrolysis. So when you talk about electrolytic decomposition, this is a reaction where a compound is decomposed, but the energy is supplied in the form of electricity. So electric current is used to break a compound. So for example, electrolysis of water. So let us discuss this picture which is taken from your textbook. Now, when water is electrolyzed, we take a cathode which is made up of graphite rod. This is a cathode, and cathode is the negative electrode here. Cathode is negatively charged. We have anode, which is a graphite rod, which is positively charged. And this cathode and anode is covered with inverted test tubes so that the gas released, they cannot escape out. The electrolyte, the blue color solution which is here, is water. So water is electrolyzed, but pure water is a very poor conductor of electricity. Pure water is almost a non-conductor, we can say. So to that water, some amount of acid is added. Now this is a very common question from electrolysis. The question is asked like this: why is acid added to water during neutralization? Sorry, during electrolysis. The answer will be pure water is a very poor conductor of electricity. So acid is added to increase the ionization of water so that the conductivity increases. Now, when you pass current, this water will give you H plus and OH minus. Notice H plus, which is positively charged, will go to this negative electron, and it produces this bubbles of hydrogen gas. It will be converted to hydrogen gas. OH minus will go to the positive electrode and produces oxygen gas. So at cathode, you will get hydrogen gas. At anode, you will get oxygen gas during electrolysis. Now see here, if you see about the volume, if you see the volume of hydrogen is almost double, or it is double than that of oxygen. In the figure, it's not looking like exactly double, but this volume is exactly double. The volume of oxygen is half than that of hydrogen, and hydrogen is double than that of oxygen. Why? That will get later on, and is a very common question asked about electrolysis of water. So the reactions can be written like this. At cathode, this water will be reduced to hydrogen. At anode, it's oxidized to oxygen. So hydrogen is obtained at cathode and oxygen is obtained at anode. So if you add the two, the overall reaction can be written like this: twice water. See, we can cut this to electrons. They're in the opposite side. 2OH minus can be cancelled. So 2 water will give you H2 plus half of O2 plus H2. And we can cancel water also. So one water from this side and water from this side can be cancelled. So what will remain is this water. This water gives 1 mole of hydrogen and half mole of oxygen. So this explains why the volume of oxygen is half than that of hydrogen. So if this question is asked, you don't need to write these reactions. Actually, these reactions you'll get in higher class. You need the overall reaction only. So for class 10, if you remember this overall reaction, it will be sufficient for you. So if the question is why the amount of gas obtained at cathode is double than that of oxygen obtained in the other electrode, we'll say that this is because 1 mole of water, when electrolyzed, produces 1 mole of hydrogen and half mole of oxygen. So since oxygen is half, the volume of oxygen is half, hydrogen is 1, so the hydrogen volume is double than that of oxygen. Another example of electrolysis is electrolysis of molten Al2O3. So Al2O3 is called alumina. When alumina is electrolyzed, you will get aluminum metal at cathode and oxygen gas at anode. When sodium chloride, molten sodium chloride is electrolyzed, you will get sodium metal and chlorine gas. The sodium metal is obtained at a cathode and chlorine gas is obtained at the anode. So detailed process we will not discuss here. Similarly, if you electrolyze sodium chloride aqueous means where water is also there. So when sodium chloride aqueous is electrolyzed, means sodium chloride dissolved in water, then you electrolyze it, then you will not get sodium metal, but you will get hydrogen gas at cathode, chlorine gas at anode, and sodium hydroxide you will get. So about this reaction, you will study in acid, bases, and salt, that chapter. And this process is called chlor-alkali process, which is used for preparation of sodium hydroxide. Then the next type of reaction we'll discuss is displacement reaction. So let us take an example. Suppose in the morning in the school, you are standing along with someone. This is you, and this is someone who is not your best friend. Then you saw your best friend coming. So what you will do? You will go with your best friend, and this boy or girl will be removed. It will be displaced by your best friend. So you go with your best friend. So similarly, in chemical reaction, if you have a compound AB in aqueous solution, to this AB, another compound C in a solid state is allowed to react. So the C will displace B and it produces AC, and this B is displaced like your so-called friend. So this type of reactions are called displacement. But for this displacement to occur, this element C should be more reactive than B. So we can define this displacement reaction as a reaction where a more reactive element displaces a less reactive element from its solution. Now, which element is more reactive, which element is less reactive? These all are explained based on some value called electrode potential, about which you will study in higher class. But here we'll give you the metal reactivity series, which is a series of metals where some elements, some metals are arranged in order of their reactivity. So this is a reactivity series: potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminum, zinc, iron, tin, lead, hydrogen, copper, mercury, silver, gold, and platinum. So these elements are given in the reactivity order. This is less reactive, and this is most reactive. Then all these are metals. What is hydrogen doing here? It's a non-metal. So this is a question which is asked in the exam. Why is hydrogen placed in a metal reactivity series? The answer is very simple. All the reactivities are expressed in comparison with hydrogen. Actually, as I said earlier, this reactivity is expressed in terms of something called electrode potential, about which we will study in higher class. In class 11, you will get. So this electrode potential value of an element is calculated in comparison to hydrogen. We take something called standard hydrogen electrode to calculate this. So since hydrogen is used to compare, this hydrogen, which is a non-metal, is also placed in metal reactivity series. So to remember the metal reactivity series, we can remember this sentence: please stop calling me a zebra in the library. Hello, call me something good, please. So you can compare the metal with this: PP, SS, CC. So like this, you can remember this. I'm reading it again. Please stop calling me a zebra in the library. Hello, call me something good, please. So remembering this, we can remember the metal reactivity series. Now, from this series, can you answer me a question? Like, if you allow this copper metal to react with zinc sulfate solution, copper metal and zinc sulfate solution, will the displacement reaction occur? So for this, we have to see the position of copper and zinc. Copper is here and zinc is here. So this copper is less reactive than zinc. So since copper is less reactive than zinc, this displacement reaction will not take place. This displacement reaction will not take place. Fine. So from the reactivity series, we can find out which metal will displace which metal or which non-metal. Then based on whether a metal is displaced or a non-metal is displaced, we can have two types of displacement reaction. One is called metal displacement. The displacement where a metal is displaced, like copper sulfate and iron, gives you copper and iron sulfate. So during this reaction, the blue color of copper sulfate will fade and ultimately it will become green in color. We know that copper sulfate is blue in color and ferrous sulfate is green in color. Another displacement is copper sulfate and zinc will give you copper and zinc sulfate. So in this case, the blue color of copper sulfate will disappear, but zinc sulfate is colorless. So the solution will become colorless. Another example is chromium trioxide and aluminum, where we'll get aluminum oxide and chromium. Now, if we see all these three, in all the three cases, a metal is displaced. So when a metal is displaced, these reactions are called metal displacement. Now, another type of displacement where a non-metal is displaced is called a non-metal displacement. So displacement in which a non-metal is displaced is called a non-metal displacement. For example, when sodium is allowed to react with water, you'll get sodium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. And this reaction is a very fast reaction, and as hydrogen gas release catches fire in the reaction. So as a result, the sodium is always kept immersed in kerosene oil. Sodium is placed under kerosene oil. When it comes in contact with atmosphere, or when it, like atmosphere is the water vapor, or when it comes in contact with a trace of a drop of water even, it catches fire. So there's the reason why sodium is always kept immersed in kerosene oil. Calcium also reacts with water, but slowly gives calcium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. So this is another non-metal displacement where hydrogen is displaced. Water reacts with fluorine. This F is fluorine. It reacts with fluorine to produce hydrogen fluoride and oxygen. So this is a displacement where a non-metal oxygen is displaced. Another displacement is iron and HCl give you FeCl2 and hydrogen. So this is again an example of displacement where hydrogen is displaced. So we have two types of displacement. One is metal displacement, one is non-metal displacement. In metal displacement, a metal is displaced. In non-metal displacement, a non-metal is displaced. Then we'll talk about double displacement reaction. This double displacement is like exchange. So you have a compound AB and CD. So during double displacement, the ions get exchanged in a solution. In AB, A plus is cation and B is the anion. Here C is positive and D is negative. So this positive will go with the negative and this positive goes with the negative. So we'll get AD and CB. So this type of reactions are called double displacement reactions where exchange of ions takes place. The ions gets exchanged. So this includes neutralization reactions, precipitation reactions, I'll explain, and then reactions in which some gases are released. For example, if we talk about the reaction of barium chloride and sodium sulfate. So this barium chloride is a colorless liquid in aqueous solution. This barium chloride is colorless. Sodium sulfate is also colorless. When the two are mixed, you'll get barium sulfate, and this barium sulfate is a white color compound, and it's a white color compound and insoluble in water. Insoluble in water. And since this compound is insoluble, it will settle down in the test tube in which the reaction occurs. So as a result, this type of reactions are called precipitation, and this insoluble compound which is produced is called a precipitate. So when we talk about precipitation, it is a type of reaction in which some insoluble compounds or insoluble salts are produced. Fine. This is another double displacement where silver nitrate, which is colorless, is allowed to react with sodium chloride, which is again colorless, gives a white precipitate of silver chloride. And NaNO3 is aqueous, so it will remain in the water. So in exams, questions are asked, like give an example of double displacement reaction. So you can write these examples. Another example is iron sulfide. This is ferrous sulfide, S2- is sulfide, and sulfuric acid, which will give you ferrous sulfate and H2S. Hydrogen sulfide is a gas which will escape from the container. So this is another example of double displacement where a gas is released. Then we'll talk about the reaction between lead nitrate and potassium iodide. So when lead nitrate, which is again colorless, potassium iodide, colorless compound, when these two are mixed together, it gives lead iodide, which will give you a bright yellow color precipitate. So this is another example of precipitation reaction. Now, if you see this example, where an acid hydrogen chloride, HCl is hydrochloric acid, it reacts with a base sodium hydroxide. So when these two reacts, you'll get sodium chloride as salt and water. So this type of reactions, you know, is a reaction where an acid reacts with a base to produce a salt and water is known as neutralization. Neutralization. And these neutralization reactions are also example of double displacement. Now, students, do you remember in my first class, I said these neutralization reactions are highly exothermic in nature. Fine. So in exothermic reaction examples, you can always write neutralization reactions. And if the acid and the base both are strong, then the amount of energy released is also fixed here. If you take sulfuric acid and ammonium hydroxide, again an acid and a base, you will get ammonium sulfate as salt and water. So this is another example of double displacement reactions. Okay, students, thank you. We'll stop here for today. In our next class, we'll discuss about redox reactions, corrosion and rancidity. So students, if you think this online classes, this video classes helps you for understanding the concepts better, then please like and subscribe my channel. Thank you, students. Have a nice day.